A critical study has shown there is a significant potential for intra-African trade and the prospects of advancing regional economic integration through such trade. However, realizing this potential and the effort to advance regional integration through intra-African trade is challenged by lack of complementaries of exports and imports, as well as the relative competitive position of African potential export supplies. This is as a result of weak infrastructure, productivity, and trade facilitation. In short, acute export supply constraint that characterizes the African export trade. Welcome, I'm glad to have you join us on today's edition of Maritime Update, where we bring to you every week activities in the maritime industry. I am Norma Obiaswalo. The analysis earlier mentioned calls for an innovative approach to enhance intra-African trade and furthering regional integration. Addressing the challenge of export supply constraint, export competitiveness, and diversification is found to be crucial. This in turn calls for policies that need to go beyond the liberalization to actual realization of the potential for trade through the provision of regional and domestic infrastructures, harmonizing macroeconomic policies, restructure fiscal policies, enhance trade, enabling institutions, and develop trade facilitation as well as regionally focused diversification plan, using the existing regional economic communities as vehicles. In this episode, we will be focusing on integrated policy. Restructuring fiscal policies will help maximize trade and commerce in the West African region, and factors that will ensure the ease of doing business in Nigeria. First, let's look at the issues and developments that make news in the maritime industry. Stay with us. The Nigerian Shippers Council says the Ibadan Inland Dry Port will gulp over $99 million. Stakeholders expressed mixed reactions over 0.2% import levy slammed on cargoes. The Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria signed MOU with UNILAG to develop capacity in freight forwarding. Hello and welcome to Maritime News, and now to the main stories. The Executive Secretary and CEO of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Hassan Bello, during the handover ceremony of the Ibadan Inland Dry Port exchange of letters, said the Ibadan Inland Dry Port has been estimated to cost about $99 million. The project, which is intended to enhance the nation's cargo handling and processing capacity with additional 40,000 TEUs per annum, will introduce a modern and sophisticated system, process and procedures to handle and process cargoes, as well as provide additional means of integrating surface transportation of containers in the southwest zones, including Kwara and Kogi states. Speaking on the dry port facilities, Bello added that it will also provide a comprehensive cargo sorting center and serve as a temporary storage facility. It will provide cargo and truck management facilitation interface through the installation of appropriate equipment and machineries to receive and dispatch containerized cargo from the IDP for onward shipping. It will comprise of a container freight station with an adjacent stuffing and stripping area that will also serve as custom inspection zone. The Shippers Council boss noted that the project will be equipped with multi-bridge stackers and tractor trailers units for container handling and storage services. Responding, the governor of Oyo State, Abiola Ajimobi, described the project as one of the most important projects in the transportation industry, which will improve the commerce and socio-economic development of the state. Stakeholders in the importation and cargo clearance business have expressed divergent views on the 0.2% import levy slammed on all cargoes emanating from African Union countries. The Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, while addressing the State House correspondents after the Federal Executive meeting, announced a rate of 0.2% as the new import levy cost, insurance and freight on goods coming into Nigeria, but with some exceptions. The exceptions include goods originating from outside the territory of member countries that are coming into the country for consumption. The minister noted that the purpose of the new levy is to enable African Union members pay on a sustainable basis. The immediate past president of the Association of Nigerian Licensed Customs and NALCA, Prince Shitu, kicked against the levy, saying it would add to the cost of importation. NALCA president said special efforts should be channeled towards creating industrial revolution in the agricultural sector to stem the 60% waste harvested products. On his part, a member of the governing board of the Council for Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria, CRFFN, Sani Shitu, supported the move of the government, arguing that most of the goods that are considered are of African origin, which actually originated from Europe but landed in African countries to avoid taxes to Nigeria in form of duties and other charges. The Council of the Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria, CRFFN, has accredited and signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU with the University of Lagos, UNILAG, to begin the training and certification of Nigerian freight forwarders in line with the provisions of the International Federation of Freight Forwarders Association, FIETA. The registrar of the CRFFN, Samuel Wokon, assured that the council is also accrediting other high institutions of learning across Nigeria, including the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, to commence training of freight forwarders. He announced that UNILAG will start issuing diploma in freight forwarding and supply chain management and higher diploma in supply chain management, as he assured that these certificates will afford freight forwarders the capacity to practice anywhere in the world. On his part, the Deputy Director of the Institute of Maritime Studies, UNILAG, who represented the Vice Chancellor Olusegun Adeaga, assured CRFFN Registrar that the training of the freight forwarders will be carried out in truth and in spirit. That's good news coming from the CRFFN, as training is imperative to ensure professionalism. And that's Maritime News. Maritime updates continue shortly. Stay with us.
Welcome to Port Support Services, otherwise called the PSSP. This is an initiative of the Nigerian Shippers Council created to serve the public better. To help you navigate the portal, first log on to the website at www.pssp.ng for every information about the PSSP, which includes information and project standards operating procedure of the partners of the PSSP and frequently asked questions or contact information with the PSSP of Nigeria Shippers Council. Members of the public will be able to make complaints using the complaint form, track the status of their complaint, make inquiries, or give us a feedback using the contact form. The following are steps to submit a complaint. Open your web browser and type www.pssp.ng, which will take you to the home page. Click on the Make a Complaint. The login page takes you to the registration portal, which is mandatory for you to submit a complaint. If it's your first time of submitting a complaint, click on either the register or the button on the registration link. To register, you will need to supply your email address, display name, and password. After completing these fields, you should click on the register button. If you have previously created an account, simply log in by supplying your email address and password. After you have successfully logged in, you should see your complaint form. The system assumes you are the main complaint. The complaint form has 5 sections with the following details: service provider details, event or service description, other details, complaint description. In other and in addition, you will find a yes and no button, and this is how it works. Using the yes or no button, indicate if you're complaining on behalf of a company. If you're complaining on behalf of someone, you will have to give us other details by clicking on the Add Detail button, then click the Next button. From the pop-up list, select the type of company your complaint is about from the agency list and select the company from the company list.
Welcome back. If you have just joined us, this is Maritime Update reaching you courtesy of the Nigerian Shippers Council. For details, please reach the Nigerian Shippers Council on our email, website, or better still, text the number showing on your screen. Now to the guest of the week. He is Otumba Kunle Folari, Chairman, Nigerian Ports Consultative Council. He shares on how congestion can be addressed maximizing intra-African trade, and factors that will ensure the ease of doing business in Nigeria. This and many more. Stay with us. You chair the Nigerian Ports Consultative Council. What are the notable things done by the council which is geared towards moving the maritime sector forward?
Let me introduce the council. The Nigerian Port Consultative Council was established as a ministerial regulation out of the Port Act of 1955 by ministerial regulation of 1963. In essence, the council is almost 60 years old and has been the pivot for dialogue and development in the maritime industries. Essentially, the focus of the Nigerian Port Consultative Council is advisory, advocacy, and arbitration, bringing solutions and ideas that will move the maritime sector forward. Bringing solutions for issues of disputes and concern to stakeholders and major players in the maritime sector. Having given ourselves these tasks, how do we approach this? The Nigerian Ports Consultative Council believe that you must bring the issues on the table, bring the stakeholders together to dialogue and prefer solutions. The four instruments we use are the Maritime Summits. The Maritime Economic Summit is hosted by the Council once a year outside Lagos and rotated among all the port cities in Nigeria, and sometimes in cities that are not port related. For example, there are said economic summits in Ondo State, Akure, in Ibadan in Oyo State, in Calabar in Cross River State, in Kano State, and several other locations. The focus of such economic summit is to bring about an awareness of the potential of the maritime sector to hinterland states. And I'm very glad to say that the ICDs, inland container depots, that are now spreading like wildfires in major hinterland locations in Nigeria, were part of the projects promoted by the Nigerian Port Consultative Council in collaboration with the Nigerian Shippers Council.
Okay, having understood the great work your council is doing, let's move to another question. We are faced with congestion crisis, infrastructural issues, and many more. How can we best resolve these issues to ensure that the industry is in the path of growth?
Well, when you look at the infrastructural needs of a port, you have to look at it in relation to the demand of the ports for services. You have to look at the location of the port, and also you have to look at the capacity of the port to deliver all the various needs of stakeholders and port users. Infrastructure could mean providing harbor services to support shipping. Infrastructure could mean construction of access roads, and common user routes within the port. It could also mean providing equipment by way of utilities, power, telecommunications, for example, so that all the concerns using the port services will have support for these very critical needs of the port. And if you go further, you will see that when all this infrastructure